We're good to go.
20.
Dr. Greg.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I would like to thank everyone for being here that is here and for those tuning in remotely from home. Kay, could you call the roll?
Yes. Harold.
Here.
Hollenbaugh.
Here.
Leontis.
Councilman Leontis here.
Phipps.
Here.
Robinette.
Here.
Roland.
Here.
Zanfordino.
Here.
Okay. The minutes from our April 6th council meeting were distributed prior. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Well, I guess I need a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes for
Second.
April 6th.
All right, properly moved and seconded. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, the minutes are approved. Kay, do we have any correspondence this evening?
Yes, I have a couple of things this evening. You'll find at your place, I distributed to you prior to the meeting, is the Bowling Green Municipal Court Annual Report as required by the Ohio Revised Code. So you have a copy of that. And also, I distributed to you prior to the meeting copies of the financial budget summary report for the months of February and March. And also before you this evening are the budget transfers to be made for this month, and those require your approval.
Okay. Let's see. No special recognitions?
Wait, I need a
have to
motion to
approve
approve the transfers.
I move to approve the transfers.
Okay.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, now,
Okay, and that's all I have.
thank you.
Mhm.
Is there anyone who has communicated the wish to visit our lobby?
No, I received nothing today
Okay.
or last week.
All right, which brings us to the introduction of new legislation.
Mr. President,
Ms. Phipps.
I have an ordinance from the Planning, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee. It's a resolution to approve agreements and authorize the municipal administrator to sign the agreements between the City of Bowling Green and Ohio Logistics Limited to provide incentives available for project development in the Bowling Green Community Reinvestment Area Number 6.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
I have an ordinance from the Finance Committee providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020.
Thank you. Official reports.
Good evening, City Council. It's great to see everybody. I wanted to comment briefly this evening on our community's continued positive response to this COVID-19 challenge. Of course, I hope that everybody is noticing that the city continues to run. The lights are on. We all have waters. We need to wash our hands thoroughly. And we're really grateful for the efforts of all of our city employees. I also wanted to highlight the efforts of our city schools. We, of course, learned today that the schools will not reconvene this year. So the work that they continue to do in our community continues to provide great value on a very, very important item. The administrative staff and the teachers continue to develop virtual learning opportunities for the students, so there is learning continuing. And the classified staff continues to distribute meals to benefit those maybe that perhaps might be more vulnerable in our community. So I continue to be very thankful for the efforts of all those involved. I also wanted to thank our community for supporting our local businesses. I see and hear anecdotally that there are a great number of people that are buying carry out from local restaurants as they're able. And I'm really grateful that our community does continue to support our local businesses. We of course continue to be very concerned about the impact that this is having on them, and look for ways that we can support them as they attempt to get through this difficult time. And I know that Lori is probably going to be a little bit angry at me for doing this, but I did want to highlight the efforts of Lori, our municipal administrator. As I mentioned earlier, the city has continued to function through this very, very difficult time. And Lori's efforts really have played a great role in that. Lori's professionalism, her dedication, and her hard work in coordinating efforts of staff to determine new ways that they can continue to do the work that they need to do. Lori's work has just been tremendous. She's working extremely hard, and I just wanted to publicly thank Lori for all of her work. And finally, I wanted to encourage all of our residents to continue to adhere to the CDC guidelines. Wearing masks if you're out in public, if you cannot maintain the recommended social distancing, and all of the other measures are going to continue to be important as we continue to fight our way through this. But again, I'm very grateful for the community's response, and I'm more positive today than I ever have been that together we will get through this, and we will once again thrive as a community. I did want to also mention briefly the financial impact that the city is no doubt going to experience as a result of this challenge. It is really an ongoing process for us to begin to analyze the impact. We, of course, know that it's going to be a negative financial impact that is going to provide great challenges for our community. We're working closely with Brian Bouchon, Lori, and I to analyze data as it comes into us, and we will, of course, be sharing information with you as we get a more clear picture of what the impacts are going to be and what our response might be to those challenges. I think it's become clear to all of us that federal and state assistance is going to have to play a critical role in our community's ability to rebound from the financial impact of this crisis. And I did want to let you know that towards that end, I have been very active in the last several weeks engaging with our congressional delegation in Washington, D.C., Governor DeWine's office, and our local state representative. I've written 2 rounds of letters to our congressional delegation, and I've received feedback from them. I received a call from Senator Brown's office, and I did talk in person with Senator Latta. And I was just hoping to impress upon them the financial impact that Bowling Green, like many other local governments, will be experiencing as a result of this challenge. And Bowling Green's challenge is magnified by the fact that we are a municipal utility. So I've been working hard to help them understand the challenges that are somewhat unique to Bowling Green and others like us that do operate as a municipal utility, because there's a magnified financial impact because of that component. So I did want to just mention those things and assure you that I am doing what I can do to engage with elected officials and advocate for our city in terms of receiving federal assistance when it is made available. And finally, I wanted to mention the election. As all of you are aware, and I hope that everybody that's listening is aware also, the March primary was extended to April 28th. So that means there's some deadlines coming up. I think that everybody, or I hope again, everybody by now is aware that if you have not yet voted and you want to do so, which I certainly hope everybody does, that you can only do so now through an absentee ballot. And so there are some important deadlines that I hope everybody will be aware of. April 25th is the deadline for you to request a ballot by mail from the Board of Elections. April 27th is the date that ballot must be postmarked if you're going to mail it back in. Or if you choose to print a ballot from the Board of Elections website, that needs to be dropped off in the Board of Elections drop box by 7:30 p.m. on the 28th, which is the deadline for the election. We all know that all elections have consequences. Locally, there are 2 very important issues on the ballot that are very important to the Bowling Green community. I think you're all aware that there are 2 Bowling Green City School renewal levies that are on the ballot that I believe are worthy of our support. They are certainly critical components of the financing structure of the city schools, and I hope that all of our residents will join me in supporting these renewal efforts by voting before the April 28th deadline if you haven't already. So that concludes my reports, subject to any questions you may have for me.
Are there any questions for the mayor?
Mr. President, no, I do want to thank the mayor for his efforts in reaching out to our national and state leadership. That's very important. And I hope our citizens appreciate that, the effort and the results that it looks like are coming from that. Sounds like you're getting positive feedback from your request for assistance. So
Yeah, I was really surprised actually to receive, as I mentioned, a phone call from Senator Brown. It was pretty easy to talk to Senator Latta, and on Friday I was able to speak to the Deputy Director of Staff for Governor DeWine. So those letters are having an impact, and pleased that we're getting their ear.
And I'd also like to just build on your comments about the schools from the cancellation standpoint. Those of you in the room may have noticed I'm wearing my Bowling Green High School baseball shirt. I have two high school athletes at home. One's a freshman who's missing his lacrosse season, but one's a senior. One of the I think there's 32 seniors in the high school who either missed their winter or will be missing their spring season. And tonight, the school's honoring them at 20 hours with a small ceremony to just recognize them in some way. So just be aware, if we're done with this meeting, I suspect we will be by 2020, that at that hour, just pause the city. I think the schools ask folks to just be outside or maybe turn on your lights
Turn on our light.
and reflect on the fact that the seniors, they're going through a lot. So in any case, just keep them in mind and as we push through this.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Greg. Thank you.
Municipal Administrator, Ms. Treader.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Osbacher, for your kind words. Of course, I share that with our whole team that has done an extraordinary job navigating turbulent times, as all of us have, certainly. I want to share with you this evening that the city has added a new element to our webpage. It's a consolidated map of our capital projects. It can be accessed on the city's homepage. You just scroll down on the right side of the page and you'll see a button that's right under the sign up for our newsletter, which hopefully I know all of you here are on our newsletter, but anybody listening in, please sign up for our newsletter. But you'll go down there and you'll find a button that says Capital Projects, Maps, and Information. The map provides comprehensive information about the city's larger capital projects, those that are ongoing and those that are being planned. Through this new map, we are able to link neighborhood letters that have been delivered to the project area, provide information about what is planned, financial information such as project estimates and funding sources, as well as updates about the project. Now, sometimes you're going to notice some gaps. So, for example, there may not be a full funding source. That's because we just simply don't have that information. It'll be filled in as it becomes available. I'd like to congratulate the staff who has been involved in working to consolidate this information into a useful, user-friendly tool for our elected officials, for fellow city staff, and of course for our citizens, to whom we want to get information as much as possible. And while several of our staff members were involved, I'd like to give special recognition to Joe Fawcett and Jason Heyman, who is our GIS coordinator, who took the lead on the project, two of them. So please check it out. In recognizing the challenging times of our local business community, tonight I'm announcing the expanded use of temporary signage for commercial businesses. We understand that temporary signage is a good communication tool, and the need to communicate business operations with customers is critical. This is true now, and certainly as regulations and recommendations for the public health evolve in the coming weeks and months. Therefore, the City of Bowling Green is allowing an increase in the total number of temporary signs, along with waiving the permit requirement, minimum setback, and 30-day per year limitation for commercial businesses. A business can now have up to 3 temporary signs, which can be up to 16 square feet in size. Please note, however, that signs are not allowed to be in the right-of-way. They cannot block traffic visibility, and they may not have flashing lights. And this will be in effect until December 31st, 2020. Additionally, understanding that our downtown, which is the heart of our community, is enduring significant hardships during this time. The city will also allow downtown businesses to utilize an A-frame sign for the remainder of this year with no fee. And once it is allowed by the state in accordance with any state or county directives, outdoor merchandising, outdoor dining on the public sidewalk can be done with no fee. However, in that case, we do still require a permit. Again, there will be no charge for the permit, but we do have to have a permit to make sure that federal law is being followed to maintain the 5-foot accessibility aisle width, and that proof of liability is supplied. That is part of our standard procedure. The current regulations on the time of use and the size of limitations will still apply. All this information will be available at our planning department, and people can contact them at 419-354-6218 or email planning@bgohio.org. Again, you can get that information on our website as well. As we move ahead in this changing environment, I do encourage local businesses to be in contact with the numerous organizations that represent Bowling Green businesses to discuss ideas for temporary regulations or efforts that we can make to operate in these unprecedented times. The Chamber of Commerce, the Community Development Foundation, Downtown Bowling Green, and the Convention and Visitors Bureau are all great resources for our business community. And this applies whether it's a small business, a large industry, or anywhere in between. I encourage businesses to reach out to these groups to discuss ideas as well as impediments in these constantly changing environments. And in turn, I challenge the aforementioned groups to be in communication with the city to discuss regulatory and support efforts that we can explore for our community. And in that vein, I've also challenged our staff to consider looking at things differently and how we can make a positive impact as our community navigates these difficult times. Mayor Osbacher reminds us often of the need to challenge ourselves. When presented with a new idea, it's often easy to say no. This is why we shouldn't do it. We've never done it that way before. We tried that 10 years ago. It didn't work. So-and-so is going to say this. So-and-so is going to say that. But what if instead, as the mayor poises to us often, instead of just saying no, we say, well, how can we do that? How can we address the barriers? How can we address the challenges? And he's encouraging us to be bold. He's encouraging us to be creative. And the staff is taking that challenge up and looking at various aspects. But again, we need those partnerships from other community partners as well. We are operating in times that we have never seen before. And that may cause us to take actions that we've never seen before. So we encourage all of us, and certainly, again, I can speak for the staff to say we are going to be proactive, engaged in a responsible way, of course, open, creative, and cooperative with these approaches. As you are aware, although we are maintaining our social and distancing, even though we're being socially distant here, we are operating in the side regulations, which means that I don't have staff behind me this evening. So a few of them did provide me with brief reports that I'll now share with you. From the planning director, she says, as of right now, it's looking like both the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals meetings for May will be canceled. She will confirm that in writing. From the Parks and Recreation director, the Bicycle Safety Commission for April is canceled. Also, as a reminder, outdoor parks remain open, but people visiting them are asked to be socially distance themselves and also plan ahead, as restrooms and water fountains are currently closed. From Public Works, he shares that April brush collection started today. We had over 700 addresses request pickup. That is a record by far. But if people missed the April collection, no worries. There will be another one in May, and we will announce when the service registration opens. Be aware that the contractor for our downtown project will be returning the week of April 27th to address some remaining punch list items, and no major traffic impediments are scheduled. And that completes our consolidated report, subject to your questions.
Are there any questions for Ms. Treader?
President?
Mr. Harold?
Not really a question. I just wanted to, don't look while I touch my mask. I just wanted to echo what the mayor said. And Lori, I'd say that you and the way that your staff has responded has been exemplary. And by exemplary, I mean a good example. It should be something in like a textbook teaching management, that you've risen to the occasion and are doing a phenomenal job, both you and the mayor. So kudos to you and thank you for leading the city, you and the mayor, through these times.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. I'll share that with the staff as well.
Yeah, I would like to add that I know you guys, even though this is a very fluid environment, all the departments are working very hard to try and stay ahead of the curve and anticipate what's coming down the road. And I, again, continue to be impressed with their professionalism during this time. And I think it's safe to say on behalf of council, please extend our thank you to them.
Thank you very much.
Okay, city attorney.
Came all this way.
No report. Okay, well, that will conclude reports then. Are there council committee reports this evening?
Mr. President,
Mr. Zanfordino.
I just wanted to announce that the Community Improvement Committee has completed its report following the assignment that we received at the beginning of the year. I hesitate to call it a final report. At our last meeting on April 6th, we came up with a series of recommendations. But the meeting was a bit rushed, in my opinion. We really probably could have used one more meeting. So there were a lot of thoughts that Council Member Neocles has that were really not presented that evening. So the report captures what came out of that April 6th meeting. But I do want to acknowledge that Neocles has some items that he'd like to bring up at a subsequent meeting.
Okay.
But I did route the report to the entire council just before this meeting.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Council Member Leontis, it's my understanding that the things that you wish to discuss that were not discussed, you're going to send those to the other members of council?
Well, I've already provided a binder with all the different data that we obtained, and I have some things to supplement that. And one of the members suggested I include a table of contents, which actually I feel is very important. And I'm also going to provide a summary of the facts as we've determined them from the different interviews we had, from the different presentations made to our meetings, sort of a summary of the findings, which were not really included in this set of recommendations, which is more of a report of what happened on April 6th.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I would ask that all members of council take some of the time you have available now to look over this material once you receive it. Because once we're able to return to normal order, I would like to move forward with that toot sweet. So make sure that you are familiar with the information. Any other council committee reports?
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Robinette.
I think everyone saw the notice that the Finance Committee meeting that I had contemplated having this evening, I've moved to June 1st for a lot of reasons. At a minimum, at that June 1st meeting, I do hope to receive a report from the administration on the challenges to the 2020 and 2021 budgets caused by the stay-at-home order. And although there will be still many unknowns on June 1st, we'll certainly know more then than we do now. And I think it'll be a good opportunity for the council, starting with the Finance Committee, to start getting our arms around what we're going to be facing moving forward. And I'd also like to thank Sandy for pointing me to an article from the Ohio Municipal League a week or so ago, and regarding the impact of the coronavirus on Ohio cities. And I read that, I read a similar article from the Columbus Dispatch and a Brookings Institute source article that was cited by both the Ohio Municipal League article and the Dispatch. And the Brookings Institute article highlighted that Ohio city and village governments are among the worst positioned in the nation to ride out the financial impact of the coronavirus downturn due to Ohio's unique system of funding cities and villages primarily with income tax. And what I didn't know until I read that was, only about 1 in 10 cities nationwide rely on the income tax the way we do here in Ohio. So, in Bowling Green, and I just verified this with our finance director today, but about 44% of our general fund is from income tax. And of course, 100% of the fire and police levies come from income tax. So a very, very large chunk of our budget is income tax. So we're going to feel the impact of that, because when people aren't working and they aren't making money, the municipal income tax fails to be a vehicle for revenue. People stop paying taxes the day they're laid off. So the duration of this unprecedented unemployment is not known, but the effect will be felt immediately, and we'll start to learn that hopefully at a report at that finance committee meeting. Also, along those same lines, we as a city don't truly benefit from the coronavirus relief fund because Bowling Green and Wood County don't meet the population thresholds established by the federal government. And therefore, we only get relief funds from the state of Ohio at the state's discretion. I think you all are probably aware of that. So small cities like Bowling Green need direct funding. Between now and our next council meeting, I intend to draft a resolution for consideration of the full council that asks our congressional delegation to support direct funding to all sizes of cities. But of course, if Congress acts in the meantime in our favor between now and May 4th, that resolution won't be necessary. And I know some of the actions the mayor's taken, the conversations he's had with leaders, as well as some efforts I've seen in the press. Hopefully this will be a moot point by the time we get to our next meeting. But in any case, I want to move in that direction because I think it's important. I think leadership, national leadership, is starting to get the message that smaller communities are getting screwed in this deal. So maybe we can get that fixed. And independent of the next finance committee meeting, I'm going to work with the administration to get the previously promised list of recycling and refuse expenses for the first quarter, which pre-virus I envision being discussed in April. But we'll do that offline in a written report. And once I get that from the administration, I'll just, of course, share it with all of council, and we'll kick that sort of out of the committee setting. But still have that information for all of us to mull over as we start looking forward to future budgets. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Robinette. Any other reports? All right. Kay, could you lead us in the reading of legislation?
Yes, legislation for first reading. Resolution number 3761 for first reading. Resolution to approve agreements and authorize the municipal administrator to sign the agreements between the City of Bowling Green and Ohio Logistics Limited to provide incentives available for project development in the Bowling Green Community Reinvestment Area number 6. Ordinance number 8847 for first reading. Ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2020 and ending December 31, 2020.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
I move to suspend the rules and give ordinance 8847 its second and third readings.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Kay?
Hollenbach,
Yes.
Leontis,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold.
Yes.
Okay, let the record show that was a 7-0 vote.
Ordinance number 8847 for second and third reading. Ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2020 and ending December 31, 2020.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
I move to adopt ordinance 8847.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Kay?
Leontis,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbach.
Yes. Okay, let the record show that was a 7-0 vote also.
Legislation for second reading. Ordinance number 8844 for second reading. Ordinance changing the name of Bay Harbor Court East to East Bay Harbor Court and the street name of Bay Harbor Court West to West Bay Harbor Court. Ordinance number 8845 for second reading. Ordinance accepting annexation of approximately 40.586 acres of land in Center Township, Wood County, Ohio, from the City of Bowling Green petitioner. Ordinance number 8846 for second reading. Ordinance establishing interim zoning for approximately 40.586 acres of land at the southwest corner of Carter Road and East Poe Road, recently annexed to the city as petitioned for by the City of Bowling Green of M1 Light Industrial Zoning. Legislation for third reading. Ordinance number 8832 for third reading. Ordinance to provide for the issuance and sale of not to exceed $1,010,000 of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying costs of improving the city's park and recreation facilities by constructing, furnishing, and equipping a new city park community building and including landscaping, paving an entry drive and parking lot, and constructing a patio together with necessary and incidental appurtenances and such other costs of those improvements as are permitted by Ohio Revised Code Section 133.15 to be funded from the proceeds of securities and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette,
I move to adopt ordinance 8832.
Second.
properly moved and seconded. Kay?
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Leontis.
Yes.
Okay, let the record show at a 7-0 vote that ordinance 8832 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8833 for third reading, ordinance to provide for the issuance and sale of not to exceed $505,000 of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying costs of acquiring real estate for city purposes and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette?
I move to adopt ordinance 8833.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Kay?
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Leontis,
Yes.
Phipps.
Yes.
All right, again, by a 7-0 vote, let the record show ordinance 8833 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8835 for third reading, ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to apply for a loan and execute an agreement with the Ohio EPA, Ohio Water Development Authority, for water supply revolving loan account funding for the design, equipment, and construction of the low service pump station number 1 improvements at the water treatment plant.
Mr. President.
Mr. Leontis?
Mr. President, I move to adopt ordinance 8835.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Kay?
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Leontis,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette.
Yes.
Okay. By a 7-0 vote, let the record show ordinance 8835 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8836 for third reading, ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to request qualifications and enter into a contract or contracts for engineering services related to the low service pump station number 1 improvements at the water treatment plant.
Mr. President,
Mr. Leontis?
I move to adopt ordinance 8836.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Kay?
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Leontis,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland.
Yes.
Okay. By a 7-0 vote, ordinance 8836 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8837 for third reading, ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts for construction of the aeration and biosolids improvements at the water pollution control facility.
Mr. President,
Mr. Leontis.
I move to adopt ordinance 8837.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Kay.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Leontis,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino.
Yes.
All right, by a 7-0 vote, ordinance 8837 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8838 for third reading. Ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts for sewer relining projects.
Mr. President,
Mr. Leontis.
I move to adopt ordinance 8838.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Kay.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Leontis,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold.
Yes.
All right, by a 7-0 vote, ordinance 8838 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8839 for third reading. Ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to enter into an amendment to the Northwestern Water and Sewer District Wholesale Water Contract.
Mr. President,
Mr. Leontis.
I move to adopt ordinance 8839.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Kay, could you call the roll?
Leontis,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh.
Yes. By a 7-0 vote, ordinance 8839 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8840 for third reading. Ordinance amending and adopting Chapter 50 of the codified ordinances of the City of Bowling Green relating to sewer service.
Mr. President,
Mr. Leontis.
I move to adopt ordinance 8840.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Kay.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Leontis.
Yes.
Alrighty, by a 7-0 vote, ordinance 8840 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8841 for third reading. Ordinance authorizing the municipal administrator to enter into a contract or contracts with Calfee Strategic Solutions LLC, doing business as Calfee Zoning for professional services for zoning code update.
Mr. President,
Ms. Phipps.
I move to adopt ordinance 8841.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Kay.
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Leontis,
Yes.
Phipps.
Yes.
All right, by a 7-0 vote, ordinance 8841 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8842 for third reading. Ordinance amending the zoning district map of the City of Bowling Green for approximately 18.29 acres of land in the 600 block of South Dunbridge Road from A1 agricultural to I1 institutional zoning.
Mr. President,
Ms. Phipps.
I move to adopt ordinance 8842.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Kay.
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Leontis,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette.
Yes.
Okay, by a 7-0 vote, ordinance 8842 is adopted. Is there any other business to come before council this evening?
Mr. President, I would like to just backtrack a bit and make one comment. We didn't have any discussion on our vote for ordinance 8847, which freed up $100,000 in the revolving loan fund. But I'd like to point out two steps that the city's taken here because I think they're important. Of course, we freed up those funds or made them available to the revolving loan fund for our businesses. But the city's taken two steps in dealing with the revolving loan fund. The first is that new loans will have no interest and no payment for 12 months. and that current loans will be interest-only payments for 6 months. So the city's bending over backwards to find ways to make funds available and to make it as painless as possible for those who are borrowing from that fund. So I'd just like to point that out as well.
All right. I apologize to everyone for stepping on your ability for discussion, so feel free to jump in anytime you want, should I do that in the future. Are there any other comments that anyone would like to make?
Have we decided whether or not we will meet in 2 weeks or May 4th?
Given our experience the past 2 meetings, I think that this is working. If people want to call in, they can call in. But I think that the procedure we've been using is probably the way to go forward. So I'm the only way I would have canceled a meeting is if it looked like things were getting worse instead of better.
Mhm.
And I certainly hope that things are improving. Along those lines, I'd like to just make a comment that as the state begins to loosen up and open up certain businesses and activities to individuals, that it's important that everyone adhere to the CDC guidelines. A number of times over the past couple of weeks, I've been in public settings where people were not properly social distanced and also were not wearing masks. This puts you at risk and it puts others at risk. If you're out jogging or walking your dog and not interacting with anyone, certainly wearing a mask is not necessary. If you are inside a gas station making a purchase or at a grocery store making purchases, a mask would be appropriate in that setting. So to avoid a relapse in our recovery to this virus, I would like to urge all the citizens of Bowling Green to adhere to best practices going forward. And that's all I have. All right. Well, if no one has anything else, is there a motion?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
same sign. All right, we are adjourned.
How are you and your?
Everything's doing okay. Rye hasn't been, I mean, he's been